Well, it is right on 5 o'clock here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and my name is Thom Reed. I'm glad you could join us today for this presentation. You're here because of the Freedmen's Bureau project. Very, very excited about this project and all that's going on with it. Sounds like we've got several people that are joining us here, so I'm glad that you're able to join us and spend about an hour. We'll take hopefully maybe a little bit less than that today to talk to you about this project and about being an indexing administrator. Like I said, my name is Thom Reed. I've been working on this project for the last several months and have been working directly with AAHGS and the national group, specifically with Sherry Camp, the VP of Genealogy for AAHGS, on organizing events and helping you all get all the tools and things that you need to have successful events, to encourage people to participate in this project, and to hopefully grow your membership with AAHGS. So we hope that by partnering and working together on this initiative, it will benefit AAHGS in more visibility and more individuals wanting to be a part of this great organization. And just want to give you a couple quick housekeeping things before we get into the presentation. One thing is this is being recorded, so we hope to be able to provide you a link to this afterwards. If for whatever reason you don't capture all the notes or you want to see things again, we will provide a link. I know we did a presentation yesterday, and I was able to finally this afternoon get that link converted into something that hopefully you all can see. I haven't tested the quality of it yet, but we're also recording tonight, and we're going to kind of see which one works better, and then send it to the channels that invited you to this presentation. So you will have an opportunity one way or another to see this presentation after today. We won't be doing a live presentation again. All of you are on mute, and that is by design. When we have this number of individuals getting on here with background noise and people trying to mute their own phones, it doesn't work out. So you will hear two voices today. Primarily, you will hear my voice, again, Thom Reed, and you also hear the voice of our presenter and my good colleague, Janell Vasquez, who will be talking to you more about getting into more of the details of this project and the indexing platform. But that doesn't mean you can't communicate with us. There is a chat feature associated with this program, this WebEx program. And so if during the presentation you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to type something in the chat. You can either chat privately with myself when I'm not speaking, or Janell when she's not speaking, or vice versa, or share your question with everyone. That's fine too. And we will do our best during the presentation to address some of those questions either in the chat or over the air. I might chime in a little bit and maybe interrupt Janell from time to time to answer some questions. And then we'll also have a time at the end where you can obviously, if you want to reserve your questions to the very end, you can do that. Send them via chat and we can answer them all together. So we just want to make sure that many of you have called in, and great that you're able to listen, but we also need you to be able to view. We're sharing a PowerPoint presentation, and that's by virtue of being a webinar, that's what it is. It's not just a conference call, but we do have some visuals we want to show you as well that will illustrate some of the things you'll come across. So if you received a link via email to start this meeting or join this meeting or something to that effect, go ahead and click on that link and try and get logged in to be able to view the actual presentation that we'll give today. I've been talking for about 4 minutes, which I think is 4 minutes too long, so let's go ahead and get started. If you have any problems with viewing anything, if you want to use multiple browsers, if you have problems with Chrome, you can always use Firefox, things like that as well. So if you're having any technical issues and being able to see the presentation, you can use a different browser to log in as well. But want to kind of get you started here and just talk about the project itself. This image is from actually our infographic, which we are using profusely with this campaign, and it kind of just talks about the Freedmen's Bureau, and obviously you all have some familiarity. Being in the genealogical community, I'm sure you understand the value of these records and what we're trying to do here with the Freedmen's Bureau. We're trying to solicit and encourage individuals to participate by transcribing and indexing these records. We have records for nearly 4 million African Americans, potentially through the 1.5 million images that are a part of this collection that FamilySearch was was lucky enough or fortunate enough to receive from the National Archives. The National Archives is one of our partners on here, and the whole purpose of this project is to index these records, make them searchable for free online for individuals looking to discover their family, and also prepare them to be a part of the Smithsonian, the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. In September of 2016, they're putting in a new installation that's going to include genealogical research and records there, and so this will be a critical part of what they're doing in 2016, and we want to get all these records and this information readily available to help with that. And so that's really kind of what we're trying to do now. The Freedmen Bureau project is just one of many projects that FamilySearch has. In fact, FamilySearch, has been very prolific in indexing, millions, if not billions, of records and names and information for individuals. And so this is just one of the many things that we're doing to help grow genealogy and help individuals find success in researching their family lines. And so you play a critical role as part of this in being kind of on the front lines and being a resource that individuals can come to for this project and for maybe future projects as well. The crux of this whole initiative, or I guess where we're starting off, I wouldn't say the crux of it, but where we're starting off is on Friday, June 19th. Anyone know the significance of Friday, June 19th? Hopefully you do. It's the 150th anniversary of Juneteenth, or African American Independence Day or Freedom Day, and there will be an announcement live. It'll be on discoverfreedmen.org. That is the website we are using. If you haven't already gone or heard about the website, you can go there now and see some of the things that are there available to help individuals get started with this project. But on June 19th, we will be broadcasting a kind of a press and media event from the California African American Museum in Los Angeles at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Many of you already are aware of that and are coordinating and organizing different events in different cities to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Juneteenth and to launch the initiative to solicit volunteers for this initiative for the Freedmen's Bureau project. So we are so grateful to partner and work with so many of you on that. So mark your calendars now, put it on your calendar if you can. We'd love to have you, be a part of that day. And the broadcast that will be given live will also be available on video after that on that website, discoverfreedmen.org as well. So, let's I'm going to switch gears here real quick and just kind of give us a rundown of what we're going to do. We've already talked about the project. My friend Janell is going to talk about getting started and kind of getting into the records a little bit. Indexing as a group, this is best going to be a group activity. Also administering your group. Many of you have been signed up to be actually administrators of groups in your local areas where we can track and kind of help provide support for you with the groups that you work with. We'll talk to you about how you can get some support and help, and at the end we'll answer any questions that you might have. But before I do anything, I wanted to share with you a video. As a part of this initiative, we really tried to get the voice of the African American community to be a part of this. And so we've conducted interviews with several individuals, including here is Reverend Cecil Murray from the First AME Church in California, former senior pastor there. And there is a video associated with this. Let me kind of switch over here real quick so you can see this video. Hopefully you can all see this right now, but this is a series of interviews, not just Reverend Murray, but other individuals too, talking about how they're feeling about the initiative and what we're about to embark on. So, a minute 17, hopefully you'll enjoy this. I love that video. I love what it has to say. Especially the fact that we're helping individuals fill in these gaps, and be able to discover, and we're helping this story get told. And so I hope that you all will, join us as much as you can as part of this initiative. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the time now over to Janell, who's going to talk a little bit more about the actual getting started and using the records and all those kinds of things. So if you'll bear with us while I pass the baton to her real quick. Oh, are we still here? Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here real quick. So bear with me while I try and pass the baton over to Janell. There we go. Janell, are you there on the line?
I am here, and I've got it. I'm
okay,
sharing my screen. All right, can you see that okay?
I can see it, and hopefully others can too. You can chat with me if you are having any technical difficulties.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Thom. That's been a great introduction. We are excited about this project. So let's walk through how to get started. We're going to walk through getting started up to what you'll do is you get in and index your first batch, and then we'll go into some of those other topics you mentioned on the agenda as well. So a lot of you have already been through these steps. Some of you may not have yet, but whether you've already been through them or not, we are guessing you'll probably be walking your members through them. So we thought we'd kind of give a big picture view of all of these steps that we'll go through to get started. And one other note before we begin, the program does not run on tablets or on smartphones. You do need to have a laptop or a desktop computer. It can be Windows or Macintosh computer. Either one will work okay. So to get started, you're going to go to FamilySearch.org/indexing, and then from there you'll come to this screen and click on Get Started. That will take you into this page, Getting Started with Indexing. Once you're here, you'll see a few steps for how to get started. It walks you through some of the same things that we'll be talking about as well. You'll click on Download to download and install the program onto your computer, and that'll put a little icon on your desktop. When you open that program using that icon, you'll come to the sign-in screen right here. And when you get to the sign-in screen for the first time, if people don't have an account yet, they can go ahead and register for a new account here. If you've already got a FamilySearch account, you can just simply sign in on the right and get started. The first time you sign in, you'll be able to select which group you'd like to index with. Now, many of you have probably already signed in for the first time. You might have come across this screen. You might have even seen this list, and all of the AAHGS chapters were not in here at that point in time. They've been added since then, and for many of you, we've already gone in and we've added you to the list. For those of you who had been able to sign into the indexing program to that point. There are still some of you that we don't have yet in the program, but for those of you who that we didn't quite see yet in the indexing program, so for those of you who we were able to see in there, we've added you to your groups and made you administrators of those groups, and we'll be working with the rest of you to make sure over the next week or so that we can get you into your groups and get you set up as administrators for those groups. But now all of your groups are in the program, and so when your members sign in for the first time, they will see the complete list and be able to select a group to join and index with over time. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes. But as they sign in and get this screen, in order to see that list, they'll click on that option, another group, and then they'll get this complete list to be able to index from. After that, they will come in. You'll come in and you'll see the indexing home screen, and this will show you, or when you click on Download Batch, you will see this complete list of all of the projects available in the system. So then you can scroll down. They'll be listed under U.S., so they're down under the U's. It starts with listing out all of the states first, so it'll go through all the states, and then underneath that you'll see the projects that relate to the U.S. as a whole. So that's where you'll find the Freedmen's Bureau projects. So double-click on any of those projects, and that will take you into a batch. And a batch is basically a collection of images that you'll be indexing. Sometimes there's as few as one image. Sometimes there are as many as 5 images to index. In the upper section, that's where you'll see the image to be indexed. And then you'll type the information into the area below. Then over on the right is going to be where you'll see some project instructions and field help that help you know what the project is all about, and then specifically what to index. So the first step as you go through and index a batch is you're going to mark what type of image is that you see in front of you. If it's a normal image for that type of project, then you'll select normal from that drop-down list. There is some information in this field help window that will tell you a little bit more about what to do if it's not a normal type of image for that project. So after you've identified whether all of the images in your batch should be indexed, you're going to start back over again on image 1 and index the information from the image. The field names here and then the field help over here will help give you guidance to know exactly what to index. And then as you go through and index the information in each field, you can press Tab or you can press the Enter key to take you quickly just from field to field. So that's essentially how to get started, how to index your first batch. Just to back up a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, I hope many of you are already familiar with this indexing platform and have used it before, but if you're not, we highly encourage you to go ahead and get started and try and do batches now. You don't have to wait until June 19th to get started on your own. Now, we would, invite you to wait to maybe organize a group or do a big project, but just so you're familiar as an indexing administrator and as someone maybe others would come to as a resource, if you haven't gone in there and indexed and played around and understand these fields and how things work, we'll encourage you to do so. And Janell's going to talk more specifically about these records and some of the unique things in the indexing program that you'll need to consider, but definitely try.
That'll be great. That'll help give you a good head start and be able to answer questions that come in as they get started as well. Yeah, great idea. So just want to mention one quick thing back on the profile as they enter in which group they're going to index with. As I mentioned, some of you have probably already gone past this screen. Some of the indexers, or some of the members of your group may have indexed before and they're already part of a group. So if they've already been past this window, they're not going to see it again, but there is another place that you can get to this window to where you can see what your group name is. I mentioned a couple minutes ago to get started, you're going to go to FamilySearch.org/indexing. We have another website that's kind of an older website. We're in the middle of transitioning to the new website that I showed you earlier, FamilySearch.org/indexing. But we still have a few things that are on that old website. And one of those is the screen where you can actually go in and change your group that you're in. So those who have already set a group can go in and change the group themselves, or you can go in and look at the complete list of groups by going to this website instead, indexing.familysearch.org. So those are the two different websites. This one has just a couple of things that the new one doesn't quite have yet. So go to indexing.familysearch.org, click on the My Info here, and that will take you into your profile information. And this is where you can go in and edit your profile. You can take a look at the groups, the complete list of groups, and you can see the complete list. Make sure that the name of your society, make sure the name of your organization is correct, or I should say your chapter is correct in that list. If you need us to make any changes, then you can get back to your contact for this, and that will get back to us, and we can make the change to the group name if need be. So go ahead and come in, make sure you're in the right group, and then that will tell you what the name is so that you can instruct others on how to also get into the right group. And then if any of them have already joined another group, this is where they can change to go into the correct group. All right, Thom, anything to add to that?
No, I was actually going to say I've not received any questions. Just a reminder, if you are on the computer, I see several call-in users, but you can also be obviously watching this online. Go ahead and use the chat feature. It's usually over to the right of the screen where you can actually communicate with me if you have any questions. I put, for example, the URL for indexing.familysearch.org there. If you want to go ahead and click on it and then add it as a bookmark to your browser, what have you, that you can do that. And I'll post some things from time to time during the discussion just so you have it handy right then.
All right, great, thanks. Okay, so let's go through and take a look at the records, some of the types of records that you'll see as you get in and index in this project. There are a number of different types of records that you'll see. We've got a list on that infographic that Thom showed earlier, so you'll see a complete list of the different types that you could see. We'll just show you a few here today. This one is a labor contract, all written out. I think it's a couple pages long. So these kinds in order to index them, we need to read through the complete contract to get the names of those that we want to index. This one is a labor contract, same type of record, but it's on a form. So same general information, same type of wording. You've got, your employees and your employers that are on the contract. But it's all written out on a form, a little bit easier to read, so a little bit nicer there. There are letters. This one's a personal letter. There are complaints with the complainant and the defendant and information about what exactly the complaint was. This one's in a list. We also see complaints that are written out in paragraph form as well. There are also land records for freedmen who were given land or purchased land here. So lots of different types of records, lots of different types of forms. That adds a little bit to the complexity of this project because there's such a huge variety. So because of all of that variety, we wanted to be able to give some more general guidelines of how to index these records that would give you a good foundation for indexing any of the different types of projects. We've split out the projects into different types of records. But these three things to know are some more general guidelines that will help you to know what to do in all of the projects. So just know that each of the projects do apply these things just slightly differently. And the project instructions that you saw down in that lower right-hand corner of the screen will help you to know how the specifics will be for each of those projects. So just to share these three things. First, because there are so many different types of records, it's important to look through all of the different images in your batch. That'll give you a feel for the information that's on each image. Second, you want to index all of the individuals named in the documents in order, except for the Bureau employees and officers and administrators. And then third, for images that don't include names to index, or if they don't match the type of record that we should be indexing for that project, then in those instances we actually don't index those records, and I'll explain each of these here in a little bit more detail. Okay, so the first item again, because there are so many different types of records, you're going to want to look through all of the images in your batch first, just to get a feel for what's there. When you're looking at these and deciding whether an image should be indexed or not, that's a really good time to look through each of these records. If you see down here in the lower left-hand corner, you see a list of images, number 1 through 5. You can click through the images there. You can also, as I mentioned earlier, tab or hit enter to go from each field. This is marked normal right here, but to tab from each field to from one field to the next. Names are sometimes repeated on different images. Forms sometimes go back and forth between one type of form to the next. And so looking at all of the images in your batch helps you get the big picture of what kinds of records are going to be in your batch. Additionally, if you read through the records, the more you read through these, you're probably all familiar. the more you read through these, the easier the handwriting is to read. You know, there have been times where I've looked at one image and I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to read this handwriting. But by the time I get to maybe the third or fourth image, I'm starting to understand what the words are and how he's making his letters. And I go back to image one, and suddenly I can read image one again. So it's really helpful to be able to review all of the images first before you try and start indexing. It just gives you a good idea of what the images contain.
Yeah, that was something that we talked about yesterday, was really spending time that, although we want to, complete this project in time for the Smithsonian and their new installation in September 2016, that doesn't mean we need to rush through these records. This isn't your typical census, if you've done censuses before, or obituaries where everything's spelled out. Fields are very well delimited, so you know what you're dealing with. These may take a little bit more time, and so it's best to study it out, to read through it, to look at different things, look at all the images in the batch before you even start trying to key things, just so you understand what you're looking at, and it hopefully will aid you as you index these records and do them correctly.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you. All right. So the second thing is index each of the individuals named in the documents in order, again, except for the Bureau administrators and employees. In this document, you can see in the upper left, this one is a complaint. So we've got a few complainants here, and then we've got the defendant listed under that. So you'll need to add enough records in order to index each of the names on this batch, or on this image. These icons here that you'll see in the toolbar are what you'll use to actually add the records. This first one adds a record after the record that you're currently on. The second one adds a record at the end of all of the records on that image. And this third icon here actually deletes a record if you've accidentally added too many records. So these three are going to help you out a lot. You'll use them quite a bit as you're going through adding records. So regarding the administrators, one of the things that can help tell you that it's a Bureau administrator is that their name might appear on multiple images. They're often in the signatures, or sometimes in the letters. It's who the letter is addressed to. You can also note that it's an administrator because sometimes they have a job title or a rank or some initials after their name. So those are just a couple of ways that you can tell that it might be an administrator instead of somebody who the record is actually about. All right, so the third item is images that do not include names that we index are not indexed. Even if they have dates or other little bits of information, if they don't have names, there's just really nothing there to capture. This is an example where the name is an administrator, like we just talked about. It mentions that he's an agent bureau right underneath the name. So this is one that we would not index. And when we don't want to index an image, we change the image type to no extractable data image, and that will make it so that we don't index anything for this image. Another example that I mentioned of an image that we wouldn't index is when we've got a record type here that doesn't match the name of the project that we're supposed to be indexing records for. So this record right here is a claim. And the type of project that we're in, we should be seeing labor contracts. So we wouldn't index this, and the reason why is because the fields are different based on the project that we're indexing, so we capture different pieces of information in each project. So if we've got a record in the wrong type of project, we're not capturing the correct information. And what we do when we don't index these is everything that's marked as the no extractable data image goes back to through the system, and we have people that'll be checking those. And so anything that comes back as a no extractable data image that really does have names on it will be corrected and will be put back into the correct project that it should be indexed in. So just because you mark it as no extractable data doesn't mean that it's going to be lost. It means it's going to be put back and somebody else will get it in the correct project later.
Hey, Janell, just a quick question. Like with that case, we've given them this example of where they would have to send a batch back. But what happens if they get kind of stuck right in the middle of something and don't know what to do? Is there someone they can call or some way that they can get some help or something with what they're doing right then? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. There is. We have a support department, and they are there almost 24/7, not quite 24/7, but almost. And you can give them a call and they can help answer your questions. We'll actually share at the very end of the presentation how you can get a hold of them. So we'll have their contact information there for you. So definitely.
And then isn't there a way to, maybe if you get a hold of someone else who is more seasoned, that they can share a batch and the other person can kind of look at it and help with it? I guess you're going to get to that, so let me hold off. So go ahead. Keep going down the path you can.
Okay, great, yes. And there are a lot of other ways that you can get help as well. So let's talk about that, because one of the hardest things that you'll find in this project is simply deciphering the handwriting. So let's go through some things that you can use. Some of you are already probably really good at this. You've been genealogists for years, and you may be really good at this. There are a few things, though, that we want to mention, some tools that we have in the program as well. We'll just start with kind of the simple things that a lot of you are already familiar with, but might be good for you to be aware that, hey, people who are beginning doing this, they may not know these little tricks, too. So in this example, there are a couple of things on this image that might be a little bit tough to decipher at the very beginning. First of all, this name right here, this county, may be a little bit hard. The first letter, there's a couple of different things that first letter could be, but as you look through this image, look at other words that might be a little bit more familiar. We get down to this name of Frank. It's a pretty common name, Frank. And so that tells us that that letter is an F, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it completely. Once we see that same letter in another word, that tells us that could be an F. We also see the word Fayette here, and here they even write the F a little bit differently, but it's pretty clear that those two are the same. We're in the same county here, so that's Fayette. So, looking at different parts of the screen, the same letter in different words really help you to decipher those letters. This image has another example. This last name could be a couple of different things. The first letter could be an S, could be even a G almost. But looking at the entire image, making sure we read the whole image, we do see that surname repeated here. So we can see pretty clearly that it's actually a C, so for Clay. So just a reminder to people to compare letters, compare words across the image, and it makes it a lot easier to read. And not only on the same image, you can also compare words on different images. A lot of times it's the same handwriting on all of the images in your batch. We talked about a little bit. Another tip is that these names are often repeated on multiple images in the same batch. So in these ones, this one, you can tell pretty clearly that first name is Wash. That could be short for Washington, but we're still going to just index what we see. We're not going to spell out abbreviated names, so we're just going to index Wash. That last name, though, that's a little iffy. That first letter could be a T, could be a P, could be, a few different things, and the next couple letters are the same. The second letter could be any kind of vowel, and so a lot of different things that word could be. But finding it in a different spot in the document, we do see more clearly that that's Powell written out. As another example, looking at this name, it's so blurred that it's almost impossible to read. But on the very next image, it's listed again, and here we actually see an and that tells us, oh, hey, look, it's actually, that D was just an abbreviation for the first name, and we see it's Daniel Ned here, and then we've got a second name over here. So that helps us to decipher that this is actually two names here as well. The other interesting thing about this is there's a couple of things in this last name that are a little bit hard to read too. Could be Walton, could be Moreton. If we compare this last name in these two images, It's hard to tell exactly what that is, but we were lucky in that these names showed up again a third time in signatures. And we can see here, it's actually more clearly Walter. And this one makes it look a lot more like it's an OU, maybe, instead of an ORI or something like that. So be sure and look at all of the different versions of the name. One thing I'll mention real quick here is these are actually on different images. And where this is abbreviated, the first names are just given with initials, even though we see what the complete names are in later images. On this particular image, this name showed as being alone, or this was the only version of the name on that image. So although we can write out what we see here, the D, Ned, we wouldn't write out Daniel on this particular image. So we just say D, Ned, and W, Moten. So these others would... we'd be able to index it on the other image, the full names on the other image, but we would just index what we see on that one image, even though the other images can help us decipher it a little bit better. So just let people know to be sure and compare those. It's really, really helpful. Another tool that we have inside the program itself is this handwriting help box. If you click on this inkwell, it shows a number of examples of how some cursive handwriting is written. So that can be helpful for especially our younger indexers who may not be as familiar with cursive.
Yeah, that was big help to me. I'm not as familiar with that, at least that cursive writing, and it's really taken me a while to get used to this. And so early on, that's been a big help to see letters written in different ways. And so I have to stop and be like, okay, that looks more, actually, that's not a U. That's actually, it looks like an M. So things like that. Very helpful.
Exactly. Yep. All right. Another thing that you can do is use a wildcard for unreadable letters. So if there's one letter that you just have no idea, no way of knowing what it is, you can use a question mark in place of that one letter that you can't read. If there are multiple letters all together that you can't read, then you can use an asterisk instead. So a question mark for one letter and an asterisk for multiple letters, because sometimes there are just going to be times where you're not going to be able to make out what that letter says. Okay, so this gets into, now we're going to get into something that Thom mentioned just a little bit ago. This is a feature that I just absolutely love in the program, and it's called the Share Batch feature. You can ask for help from someone, or they can ask you for help in reading the handwriting on a batch by using Share Batch. It lets you actually go in and look at a batch that somebody is indexing. They can be indexing it at the time, and you can go in and look at it as well with them on your own computer. And you can see what they've downloaded on your computer. You won't, if you're the one that's looking at their batch, you won't be able to make any, you won't be able to save anything to it. They'll still own the batch. They'll still be the one to submit the batch, but you can look at it and help them with it. So in order to do that, while you're in a batch, if you need help with it, you're going to go to File and click up here on Share Batch, and that will give you a number to give to somebody else to ask for help with. So copy that number, and then the person who is helping will come back to their home page, their main screen for indexing. They'll click up on the File window and click on View Shared Batch, and then enter that number in right here. So then when helping, you'll be able to go into the batch and see the images as well. You can actually type in alongside them and see what happens when they type different things in, but just nothing you do will be saved. And then when it will show here on your list until you close out of the indexing program, and then the next time you open it up, it'll go away. So this is a very helpful way to, when you have questions about what you're indexing, any kinds of questions, not just handwriting questions as well. So finally, the last thing we wanted to mention is if nothing else works, but you think somebody else might be able to read the batch a little bit easier, you can actually return the batch and let somebody else work on it. To do that, just click on File and then Return Batch. And then this will pop up, and then you click on Give It to Other Indexers. This is something that I've used on on occasion, especially if I've been indexing a batch and I think I've got it okay, but I'm just not 100% sure. I just maybe like somebody else to take a look at it. But I've kind of done my best. I just would like that second set of eyes. I will do this. I'll go ahead and return it and let somebody else take a look at it too, and that way it'll kind of confirm. That way it'll have a chance to have another set of eyes look at it as well. So that's kind of a last resort, and you know, we don't use that. You know, you don't have to use it a lot, especially, but it can be used if, say, you can't get a hold of somebody to share a batch with, and you just like to give somebody else a chance to look at it. All right, so those are some of the things you can do to ask for help.
It is nice to be able to return that batch. So, I mean, again, if you're working with individuals who've never indexed before and they are coming across something that just may be a little too difficult for them to grasp, it's okay. You know, we'll take the help that we can get, and you know, maybe the next batch they'll get will be a little bit easier, or won't have some of the, you know, challenges that they may find in this batch. And so that's a great way to just alleviate any pressure on anyone, to make them feel like, you got to get this right, or you got to do it. No, return the batch. Go up and try another one. Let's keep going. So let folks know that they can do that.
Exactly. Yep. All right, so now let's talk about the fun stuff. This is where you as a group administrator, you as a leader in your group, get to have fun with your group and help to bring your group closer together. There are a lot of things that you can do to help make this project even more meaningful for your group members. And the great thing about this is that it can actually help bring your group members closer together, especially those who maybe can't attend group meetings in person. So we'll talk through those. I'm sure in brainstorming you could probably come up with a bunch more as well. To make the most of this opportunity, then you'll want to have a way of communicating with your group members, possibly even finding a way to let them communicate with each other while they're indexing. So you might think about using a Facebook group or a Google Plus group or something like that. To just allow your group members to communicate with each other. So let's talk about some of these details. First of all, just like we've done in this call, you might want to share some tips for indexing in the different types of projects. You know, anything that you have learned, anything that you've had to research to find the answer for. That would be really valuable for you to then share that knowledge with your group members. It shows that you're thinking about them and helping them with any potential things that they might come across too. So, you know, here's one example on this image. These signatures on the right are the signatures of the employer and the employees, and usually signatures are not. Usually signatures are of the bureau administrators. So, you know, this might be a hint to say, hey, even though usually we see administrators as the signatures, watch out for those signatures that really are the employers and the employees. You might also have a question about whether to index these couple of guys on the left. This is the word attested right above it. So these are kind of witnesses to this contract. And so after doing a little bit of research in this specific situation, you would have found that they are different signatures on every contract. So they're not the same. They don't look like administrators. There's no initials by their names. There are a couple of other clues, too, that kind of gave you the idea that these are not bureau administrators. So after doing that research, then you would have come to the conclusion that we do go ahead and index them. And so that's the kind of thing that you can share with your indexers and give them a little bit of a leg up as they get in and start indexing these as well. We've talked a lot about handwriting helps, handwriting ideas, how to read the handwriting. So those would be good ideas to share with them as well. This one specifically is the handwriting helps page on the indexing website. So you could share this with them as a tool that they can use to help decipher some of that handwriting. But just, you know, any kind of tips to help them would be good.
You know, one of the questions that came in is, where can they as administrators go to get more help, training, kind of see how things work on the back end. I know, we have in the indexing program specifically, for administrators. Actually, are you going to get to that slide next? Maybe it's just a couple slides down the road, so I'm sorry. But I just want to make sure we hit on that for the individual who asked.
Yeah, that's okay. We will. We'll get to some of that here in a minute and show some training for group administrators as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. And then another question came in about how do we set up a group. So once they're in there, how do they make sure people can join that group? If we can hit those, even if we have to maybe switch to live, we might need to do that. That'd be helpful for them.
Okay, sure. Joining groups and administrator training. Okay, sure. You can also share tips about the program. When you first sign in to the program, there's this tip of the day box. A lot of people close this because they want to get in, they want to do indexing. This is something that a lot of people really don't pay attention to, and that's understandable. It's just not on the way to what they're doing. But these tips can be valuable. These would be great to share in the learning situations, like a newsletter, adding a little tip into your newsletter, or maybe on social media or something like that, where somebody goes to read and to learn, as opposed to where, right here, it's kind of in the way for them. So if you'd like, you can go into the indexing website. This one's the FamilySearch.org/indexing on the Help Resources page and do a search for tips. And here is where you can get a document that has a list of all of the tips that you can share. Another good thing to share is the progress that we're making together on the various projects. This right here shows how far we are on indexing all of the Freedmen's Bureau projects. This will show growing over time, and so it's really motivating for people to see that progress that we're making, really motivating for them to know how they're contributing to the greater whole. So this is on the discoverfreedmen.org website, about halfway down the page. It's also nice to share the stories, share interesting stories from the record. This one's a touching letter from a man who's looking for his sisters that he was separated from, and who's been separated from them for 24 years. It lists his sisters. One of them was married, so it lists her spouse's name, all their children. It's really going to be an amazing resource for this person's family when they find it. It's amazing to see what he put into this letter. Just a neat story for him. Now, as you share these things, what's going to be really important is to use, as you share these things on social media, we'd love for you to use this hashtag #DiscoverFreedmen. As you share these on social media, that will be really helpful for us.
Yeah, we love, Thom loves social. I'm the marketing guy. So using the hashtag means a lot to me because it lets me know what are people talking about out there. You can put it in Facebook groups. You can put it, if you use Twitter or Instagram, take pictures of records and things and hashtag that. I've already even started doing that myself with a couple of things that I've come across. Just put a little Discover Freedmen hashtag on the end, and then the whole world will know what you're doing and have a desire, hopefully, to participate and help us in this initiative.
Spread the word. Yep. All right. And then the final thing, and this I think is probably one of the most valuable things that you can do as a group, is encourage your group members to share batches with each other. This is really powerful because as you ask for help or as you respond to someone else who's asking for help, there's actually a bond that's created through that volunteer work that you're both doing together, asking for help and giving help. And so it becomes a really valuable way for you as group members to become closer together. So really encourage each other to ask for help and share these batches with each other. There are, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of different things you can do to make it a fun experience for your group members. You may even want to schedule a get-together where you have food and index together. As Kurt Witcher said, here he's referring to engagement within societies. It's all about the experience. It's all about the experience that we're giving people. And this is, even though this is, volunteer work, people are giving of their time. As we make it a fun experience, it's just going to be that much better for all of them. right, Thom, anything you want to add to all of that?
I think where you're going with group administration will be perfect right now to
right,
kind of touch on those two topics. So thank you.
Great. Okay. So as the administrator of the group, there's a couple of tools that you'll be given to manage your group. You can send notes to your group members through the program. You can also run reports to see how much your indexers are indexing. So for any help resources for the training that you need, this is where you're going to go. FamilySearch.org/indexing, and then go to Help Resources. Then scroll down on the page to the Group Administrator section, and this has everything that you need to get started. You mentioned you wanted some training. There's a tutorial here at the top on the right that shows you some things about getting started. There's also the reporting portal where you can go in, and that will take you into this administration portal where you can send messages and you can run reports and you can view your group members. So in order to send a message to your group, you can get to the different parts of this portal, by the way, through these tabs up in the upper left, View, Search, Reports, and Messages. To send a message, you're going to click on the Messages tab, and then click down here on Create New Message. And that'll take you to this page where you can send a message to your group members, and it'll show up for them on that home page of their indexing screen right there. Another thing that's really valuable, as I mentioned, sharing how we're progressing in this together. You can run a report for how much everybody has indexed. You can run a report for what you've indexed as a whole group, run a report for individuals to see how much individuals are doing so that you can thank them for their contribution. It's really nice to get a thank you, a sincere thank you for what people are doing. But the different report options are here in this section to allow you to run it for different time frames or different types of reports. All right. And as we talked about earlier, you're going to have a lot of questions as you begin working with your group. So feel free to contact us with those questions. On FamilySearch.org, on any page on FamilySearch.org, there's a Get Help link in the upper right. So click on that Get Help link, and underneath Contact Us, there's these three links. You can either call us, you can chat with us, you can send us a message that'll go in and you can get a response back through email. Any of those ways, you can contact our indexing group to ask questions. Like I said, there's someone there almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there to answer your questions. So feel free to ask. But let's go ahead and take any more questions. Did I answer the questions that we had earlier?
If you could, or I can actually show them this page. I have up on here the Getting Started as a Group Administrator, the tutorial that you can do. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch over and make myself the presenter and share with individuals here. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. So here's again, if you come to our indexing page and come to Help Resources, you can come back down here. Hopefully you're able to follow along in real time. Here's our group administrator, which you are, and the Getting Started tutorials. And so if you want to know, for example, how to add individuals to your group, per se. So here's, our tutorials that you can do. It'll actually fire up and take you through all different topics. Sorry about that. Okay. I couldn't shut off the sound fast enough, so sorry about that. But you can see right there, it'll take you right through there. Again, reporting, as Janell said, you get into here and you can sign in and you can start, with your group and doing the reports and doing whatever you need to do on the back end here. So that's, you can do all that here and it'll help you, and you can go back to the Help Resources to get more additional information, FAQs, see what your peers are doing. We already showed you language and handwriting helps. So if you have any, questions or concerns whatsoever, again, you can go up to the Get Help and you can, call, click or chat or whatever you want to do to get a hold of someone in support. We have nearly 24-hour staff around the country that are available and willing and knowledgeable to help you at all And I'm going to also plug, if you need to get back in touch with AAHGS and the national group, they can, if you start sending them emails or something and we need to address and do another webinar, we're here to help you. We'd be willing to jump back on and do something like this again if you needed the help. But we hope that so far what you've been exposed to today has been helpful. And if you have any questions whatsoever, I haven't checked the chat, but if you have any questions whatsoever, we'll be signing off here in just a minute or so, just to give you some time to ask questions if you want to. But we're glad that you spent the time with us today, and hopefully this will be helpful. We look forward to these projects and seeing the progress that you make. If I can remind you, on June 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you want to watch the announcement if you haven't already organized an event. It's going to be big. And we're going to have some great speakers there and a bit of entertainment there I'll tell you about. I have to keep quiet until it happens. Sherry Camp will be there in the house, which will be great to have her alongside me and some other individuals talking about this project and calling for the community to come help us get these records online and help people make meaningful discoveries in their family.
All right. If you'd like, Tom, I can go back in and share how an admin can add people to the group again. All right. Can you see my screen okay? All right. So I've signed in here as an administrator, and I'm in my group, specifically that I'm administrator for. And if I've got the username of the individual that I want to add to this group, I would just type it in here and then click Move In. And so that will allow me to actually add somebody in. Maybe they're having a hard time getting in or weren't sure where to go, or it's just easier for you to add somebody in. You can go ahead and do that here. I'm on the View tab here after signing in.
And I just got an email notification that someone has joined my group.
Hey, all right.
like I saw my phone, it just went off, and I was like, what's going on here? And it was telling me that Janell has now joined my group. So everyone who gets on the indexing platform has to have their own, FamilySearch account with their own username. And so that's what she's saying to put in there, is to put in that person's username to be able to add them to your group, or they can add themselves. Like you said, when you log into the program for the first time, you can select the group that you would like to join, so they can select the AAHGS chapter that they're working with to be able to join that group, and you will get a notification of that.
All right. Is there anything else that anyone would like to see here in the administration area?
I should talk when I'm not muted. I think we're good, actually. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We had about up to 20 people on the call today. Thank you very much. We had a similar number last night, so I hope we've covered all the AAHGS chapters. And if not, like I said, we will send out a link for you to be able to watch this broadcast, this webinar. Again, if you need to or you want to share it with other individuals, you will get that link from the same way that you were invited to this presentation tonight. So thank you all. We appreciate your time. Good luck, and we'll hopefully see you on June 19th.
Thanks, everyone.